you'd have Emmet there whinging that I'd taken his shampoo or his moisturiser or something, you know.
Thank God I only had to see Paddy's bare backside once a year as well. I was happy enough, to tell the truth.
I'll be expecting Billy now to kind of throw a big pair of kahunas now on Wednesday and say, listen, that's not going to happen again. I'll go back, I'll bite the bullet, and I'll come late. I'll be the last one going at them.
Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott are going to walk out of there on Thursday evening, and they won't have a plate or a hurdle between them.
Hi there and welcome back to Inside Track Ireland, our weekly racing podcast brought to you by William Hill. Once again, I'm Tom Malone. We've no Jane this week and I'm joined by former star jockeys Emmet McNamara and Paddy Flood. And lads, what a week this week of the summer is. As if it wasn't going to be brilliant enough already, we've got Sam heading west with the Mayo lads, who will be absolutely unbelievable in the Tribe City this week. But what about Galway and Goodwood? And what do you sort of look forward to most about it for the week it is?
I suppose it's the jewel of the summer, really, isn't it? Galway. It's I don't know. There's just a special buzz about Galway, really. It's the atmosphere. The racing is good. It's a mix of flat, jump. It's got a bit of everything for everyone. You know. You could spend the day at the races and and then head to town straight away after it. And I'm sure, like you said, Mayo and winning the Sam Maguire, I'm sure that the atmosphere is going to be twice as electric this year.
Emmett, I suppose that's it, isn't it? I mean, it's a proper city centre racecourse. You don't really get that too often, particularly in Ireland. You know, the vast majority of our racecourses are sort of rural, they're kind of isolated, but you're right there in the town and you're pretty much, once racing finishes, that another party starts just up the road.
Yeah, 100%. I suppose in Dublin, maybe not everyone might know that the Dublin Racing Festival is on, but you can be sure that in Galway, everyone knows the Galway races are on. The town is hopping for the week. Everyone or a lot of people certainly make the pilgrimage west once a year for that, and it's their big week out. It's really enjoyable. Like Paddy said, there's the weigh room during the week is kind of busier than an M50 on the Friday night, to be honest with you, between amateurs, flat lads, jump lads and girls inside there as well. So it can get pretty crowded, but it's nice that you kind of get to meet as I said, lads and girls that you wouldn't necessarily meet from one end of the year to the next, with most mixed meetings, a thing of the past now in Ireland. And I suppose when anything is difficult to achieve, you tend to get a bigger kick out of it. Just ask any Mayo man or woman this morning, and I suppose Galway is a test for a rider. You need a horse that travels around there. You often need a few pounds up your sleeve, or always need a few pounds up your sleeve if you're competing in the handicaps there. There'll be a huge amount of hard luck stories during the week, and there's always a couple of fairy tales as well there. You can be sure of that again this year. But just when it presents the challenge that it does for trainers, jockeys, owners, when you can have a winner there, it means just a little bit more than it does on your average day, I think.
Coming up on today's show, we'll preview the big races at this week's Galway Festival, while also looking across the pond at Goodwood. We'll have our usual quickfire prediction round, and as always, our naps and best bets of the week. But Paddy, just on that, I mean, and something Emmet touched on there, it is super unique, and it's something as well that I'm really glad came back after COVID, those mixed meetings, isn't it? Because I feel like it really adds something to Galway when you have like as Emmet said, that the flat lads, the amateurs, the jumps fellas, all in the weigh room at the same time.
I'd say the jumps lads and the flat lads are happy enough now, and it's probably only once or twice a year, because I can remember going to Roscommon and you only had two jump races, and there was like the old way around Roscommon, there was lads sitting on top of lads, and you're thinking, Jesus Christ, get me out of here. I'm driving all this way and two rides is the most I can get. I've nowhere to sit. You'd be sitting on the floor, but look, it was quite unique. I like it in Galway, but it's a big way room. That's why you even get away with it. You'd have Emmet there whinging that I'd taken his shampoo or his moisturiser or something, you know. So
If I
yeah.
Thank God I only had to see Paddy's bare backside once a year as well. I was happy enough, to tell the truth. Sight for sore eyes, Tom.
No, I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. But I guess that's it as well. Like good old facilities that go. It's you don't have to do it too often. But I suppose from a puncher's point of view as well, it does kind of mix it up over the course of the day, doesn't it? Like you get to see all the different lads, and I guess that's the other thing, Paddy. I mean, obviously, you're obviously very concerned about your riding fees, but like it is something it seems quite chilled if you have a ride and then there's nothing to do for an hour and a half or whatever, or is that a bit of a pain?
And Galway is fine, but like other meetings, as I said, you're only able to get yourself two or three rides max. So you had less chance for riding a winner, if there was 6 races on the card, obviously. But Galway is grand. It's completely different buzz than any other race course you'd go to, really. I loved it. There was just something about it. Riding wise, I always felt like I could win on horses, and it didn't matter if they were 50 to 1 or 2 to 1 or even money or whatever. I just felt like I rode better in Galway than I did on other tracks, and I think it was just, I suppose, a bit like football teams. You feel the crowd some places, and sometimes it can lift you. Other times it can put you under a bit of pressure. But for Galway, for me, I felt like I was part of the buzz, and I got up for it and enjoyed it. Enjoyed the undulations and the getting horses into a rhythm and getting them into the right spot in Galway. And I was very lucky that I ended up on nice horses at that time of the year.
Emmet, on the flat, I think of Galway, I just think of Pat Smullen riding like that. If he was in the first 3 at the 2 pole, he just won it felt like he just won every single time. Do you think there's something about the track in Galway that it suits certain riders, suits certain people? As Paddy said, the crowds is very different because you don't always get good crowds at flat meetings, throughout the summer. But do you think there's something on the flat side or the configuration of the track that maybe suits some riders better than others?
Yeah, I suppose you need to be tactically very aware. Obviously, Pat Mullen was, and it also helped that DK had been laying him out for probably 12 months previous as well too. That was obviously a help. But Pat was a kind of a naturally kind of aggressive rider, but still was able to ride with controlled aggression. He used to often try to get out up into a nice lot. Of course, learning from Mick Canaan, who would have had the Dermot Well job previous to him as well. And Mick, I always noticed as a kid growing up, would like to get up into a nice slot, one or two maybe even out off the fence, that when you roll down into the hill, like riding a bike, you want to make sure when you roll down and you roll up the hill, swinging back to your right, that you're not getting checked. You're keeping as tight to the rail as you possibly can, but you're getting that clear run, because it can be very, very difficult to regain your momentum if you're stopped at any stage up the hill. And we'll see that plenty there this week. I suppose the other thing with Galway as well, it tends to be a track that suits previous winners at it as well. Like tonight in the Connacht Hotel Qualified Riders Race, we've the last 3 winners coming back for more again this year, teed up, as a real favourite there. I think he's won 6 times at the festival. He was one of the rare examples of a horse last year who nearly got put on the floor in the dip and still managed to get up, such as his love for Galway. But it's a tricky track. Like I said at the start, riders will enjoy riding the winner there because of the challenge it presents.
Just as well on the track as well, Paddy, because the jumps track in particular for me is so unique with that almost like a double, those 2 fences so close together. I mean, what challenges does that present for a jockey? You're almost counting strides there.
You're not really counting strides. It's kind of, I done a piece the other day, and it was kind of explained it that, say, if you were heading to a red light and you rush up to the red light and you have to hit the brakes hard, well, then you have to slow everything down, and then the light goes green and you have to pick back up again. Whereas I was saying, if you can roll down to them 2 fences in the dip and not force it, if you can meet them just on a nice stride, that you're not shortening the horse's stride or you're not asking for a big one. Because if you get a big one at the first, you tend to get a slow one at the second. So basically what you're trying to do is get your horses close to the fence without shortening the stride, just bending their legs. Now, if you see a jockey going down to the second last and you can see his elbows and he's hoofing, he's under severe pressure, So you're running down a hill into 2 fences in a dip, and they actually ride really well. Surprisingly enough, they ride super well. I thought the first fence in the plate was actually a much harder fence to ride than them 2, because it tends to be facing towards the stable yard. There's a little bit of an elbow that pushes it off a straight line going to it. And it's unique that jumps track, most jumps tracks, you can take your time and go around the field. But Galway's like a bit like riding on the flat. If you're riding over jumps, you give away any ground, whether it be in the chase or the hurdle, you probably won't win.
That is very unique though, isn't it? Or that sort of, that's the other thing, the tightness of the track. How does that kind of I'm sure we'll see it tonight in that qualified riders race. I mean, there's been carnage sort of in the closing stages of that, but I mean, how important is that? Just getting a clear run, getting a good position, and when do you want to be in a position? Like, is it getting there early, or how difficult? Say when a horse has to be dropped in, is that almost a nightmare situation in Galway?
Yeah, like it's very easy to get rolling too soon in Galway as well. Like, I mean, if you're kind of trying to ease out at the top of the hill and make your ground there around that bend before you swing down. You often see them getting going too early, in the Connacht Hotel, that race that's on tonight, the qualified riders race. With the greatest respect, and they don't, necessarily ride in that many flat races from stalls, and they can just tend to get rolling, not as experienced, get rolling a little bit earlier. The professionals tend to wait that little bit longer. It's down into the dip is when you need to start negotiating your clear path through, because there's a stiff climb and you still have a few furlongs from when you start to climb. So you don't want to get there too soon, but at the same time, you want to make sure when you're getting there, it's with that one clear sail, and run.
Do you ride much over jumps there, Emmet?
Not a whole pile. I had a couple of spins over fences. My first ride ever actually over fences was meant to be for my dad on a horse called Pombio to Paddy Flood. He won
Oh,
two
wow.
Kerry Nationals on him. I was meant to ride him in the Galway Plate one year, his first reserve. He didn't get it. He didn't get in. Now, if I was riding any other horse, I'd have probably been an absolute nervous wreck. But Paddy will tell you, he was probably as good a jumper as there was around. So I got to ride him in a Kerry National one year. I think I was fourth or fifth on him, but I said Paddy won a couple on him. But I did go around Galway over fences before. Stiff enough fences and a decent test, especially of a novice chaser. And Paddy, I'm sure, will tell you as well that whatever about the two fences in the dip, the first fence in the play can be as tricky as any fence probably anywhere in the country.
Right, let's move on then to the races at the Galway Festival. We'll start on Tuesday evening. It's a cracker, and I suppose you talk about the contrast of the different kinds of races you'll have over the course of the week. And, the Colin Quinn BMW Mile, Premier Handicap, lots and lots of course specialists in here, the likes of Pierre Royal now at the top of the market. It's a fascinating one because, again, I always think of horses like No More Porter, or even horses like One Cool Poet over the years are just total Galway specialists and do things that are mad, and we might see these horses again later on in the week. But just this particular race, Pierre Royal, Ada McGuinness, kind of no better man for Galway handicaps really. But Emmet, your thoughts on this race first?
Yeah, and particularly in this race, of course, won it twice with Salt and Stall, and Sir Jack Thomas as well the following year. I think won it 3 years in a row. The favourite, Pierre Royal, is nicely drawn in 7. Adam Caffrey should be able to get a nice position from there, you'd hope, following the pace. He's a horse that travelled really well, just back off it in the Curragh last day when he won. He's up £9 for that, formerly with Dermot Well. I'm sure he won't enjoy seeing him winning at his beloved Galway, not running under his name. But I suppose with Ado's recent record in the race and the fact that this horse seems to have been targeted at it, he was well gambled on the last day in the Curragh, and Connection straight away after the race had an eye on Ballybrit. So he looks the obvious one to me. One horse I'm disappointed to see not running in it is a horse called Loch Ray. Andy Slattery's just after him pulled out in the last couple of minutes, unfortunately. I quite fancied him. But in his absence, I think I'm going to go with Pierre Royal, probably top of the market. Little bit um, uninspired, possibly, given his favourite. But having said that, I think a lot of the rest of them look exposed and are after kind of maybe winning a little bit earlier in the year and possibly going up a little bit too high in the handicap. Whereas I think he still retains potential off that mark.
Do you think the ground is kind of more difficult? Like, we're so often we'll see, softer ground at Galway, and the dry spell we've had, over the last sort of 6 weeks or so. Paddy, do you think that'll affect how trainers approach this week? Do you think maybe it might have burst a few balloons as well when you look at this race and you're getting sort of really decent ground in the early stages of the Galway Festival?
I know, I'd say, look, I'd say everyone's going to be happy. Galway tend to keep everybody happy. I can't remember being at a Galway festival when it was really dry and the ground still wasn't beautifully safe. They do a smashing job. This is their target all year round. They don't have itty bitty meetings in between where they have to swap and change the ground. This is their main sole week of the year, basically. Now, what comes after this, there's a few other meetings, but for me, the ground will be perfect for everyone. You know what you're going to get really going there. Yeah, and it's a competitive handicap. This, like, every year, it's massively, massively competitive. I was with Emmet there. I thought Lochray had a great chance in it. Thought it won really well the last time Leopardstown, but unfortunately doesn't run. Probably draw, maybe. He might have took it out for draw. I think he was drawing 20 or 21, and Slattery's aren't going to waste a run. So that just shows you, if you're out that far, I'm just presuming now there's nothing wrong with the horse, but the horse I kind of settled on for value now each way is Dunham, Natalie Lupini's horse. Course form, lads, it speaks for so much in Galway. Like, hasn't run since September, but Natalie is very good at getting horses fit. She's a great trainer. Um, He's £2 lower than he was last year at the meeting. So, I mean, for me, he looks value because he's going to enjoy the track. Great record there, and it stands for so much. I promise you. It's like you think if you pick riders, trainers, and horses that like the track, you'd think that's very simple and you try complicated. But a lot of the time, that's the simplicity of Galway.
I suppose as well with Dunham, he has that, and he's done it before. But I suppose the question for me was what his trip is. But maybe now he is a miler. Maybe he just thought before he was probably 7 furlongs was his preference. But a really good kind of strong horse in that point of view. Just a note on Loughrea, he does have another entry later on in the week, so maybe we'll just make sure viewers do stick Loughrea in the tracker there, just in case whatever reason he's withdrawn for. Doesn't pop up in a couple of days' time, so it is worth noting that. We'll move on to Wednesday, and this is just one of the races of the summer, isn't it? We've got the Galway Plate going to post at 20-7 on Wednesday evening. Funicula is your favourite, and I suppose I was going to say this earlier, but is it kind of this straightforward now? You just look at one of these real improving novices who's probably maybe just hasn't run in kind of sort of grade 1 company as yet, but maybe looks like that could be on the agenda in the future, and that's just the way to go in these sort of races, Paddy? Or is there more to it than that?
Oh, I think there's a lot more to it, Tom. He's plenty short for me now. He's only had 4 runs over fences, and that's a negative in my book. The way he gets ridden, or the way he was ridden before, is a negative in my book in a plate. Like, if you're not in the first half of the field at plate going over the first fence, you're absolutely at nothing. Unless it's a miracle, basically, you'll get stopped on the inside, you'll get pushed out on the outside. Everybody wants to be in the first 5 or 6, but nobody tends to want to lead. So what happens is you go very, very fast down to the first. Everybody's on top of each other, and then everybody just settles where they are. So there's a wall of horse in front of you. I've been in the bunch and back in the bunch, and it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible when you're on one you're just trying to get out. You just get a break nowhere, and rarely do you find that over fences. Maybe a Paddy Power in Leopardstown when you've the full field that you're looking for a bit of light, but Galway's unique that
Yeah,
way.
but you don't have a back straight in Leopardstown or in Galway like you
Yeah,
do in Leopardstown.
exactly. You're turning, and jumping, and like Emmet said earlier on, there's stiff enough fences now in Galway. Like the third last and fourth last, they're tricky jumps too, but the first is very tricky. But I wouldn't be backing the favourite, to be honest with you. I don't think it's that simple that he just rocks up. Um, there's a few in it I like, the sort of horses that have been around and done that. Gorgeous Tom for me is one. Paddy O'Brien's going to ride him and take 3 off his back. Henry de Bromhead's horse. Like, if you go back 3 runs, I think it is, and he ran in a Hennessy. Like, he was fourth in a Hennessy, kind of half got left at the start. Okay, I had a prep run in Leopardstown over a short trip that he didn't necessarily like before a national, but got around in a national and got plenty of hamper in the national. But I really think it'll stand to him. I think he's probably a better horse than his mark suggests. And just when I was going through it last year, a horse that caught my eye was 3 Card Bragg. Like, he got left probably 15 lengths at the start, and he was only about 2 lengths off them jumping the last, and then got tired up the hill. Now he's getting on in age, but I think he's about 14 or 16-1. I think he's great value.
Yeah, Kevin Healy going to take 7 off his back as well. And in fairness, Gordon Elliott, he loves sticking a claimer up on a handicapper with a chance just to get every advantage, doesn't he? Emmet, just on that, it doesn't sound like it will be that straightforward that you just back the Willie Mullins favourite here. And as Paddy says, that inexperience, and both of you have mentioned it, that first fence and the stiffness of the fences, it could be tricky for Funicula. What do you like?
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to agree with a lot of what Paddy just said. I suppose the one I came down on was one of Henry de Bromhead's as well, but not the same one as Paddy. I like down Mexico way. The choice of stable jockey Darrow O'Keefe only had the 5 runs over fences, so you could argue that he lacks that little bit of experience. But having said that, then it also means that he's probably somewhat unexposed. Really good run when we last saw him when he was fourth to Madara in the plate in at the festival in Cheltenham. Madara bolted up. He was the handicap good thing of the week. But down Mexico way got hampered jumping the first. Carried a little bit wide into the straight, and I think he's 2 pounds lower for this than he was then as well. So Henry de Brahma tends to his horses particularly well schooled, and he likes to ride them handy as well. So I think he could just suit the setup of the race as well. And I'm fairly enthused the fact that Darrow O'Keefe is after choosing to ride him from a pretty strong hand that Henry de Brahma has in it. He's the one I like anyway.
Just to mention for Jesse Evans as well, placed in it last year's place in a Galway Hurdle. Paddy, you mentioned the importance of course form, and he's definitely a horse that's 100% tuned for Thursday as well.
Well, he's a horse that if you just wanted to ride around in a Galway plate and you weren't worrying about winning or losing or doing that, like if you wanted like Emmet there would have had some crack on the oath, but like if you wanted to just go around, you could go around blindfolded on Jesse Evans. Like, I mean, what a horse! What a horse! He's getting on now, and I just don't think he gets up that last 100 yards up the hill. I know he's done it in a hurdle. He just that 2-6 in a play, it just stretches him to his limit. A horse you'd love to own, a horse you'd love to ride. But for me, look, he'll be bang there at the last again because he always is. He's an overachieving horse, really. But Noel Mead and Donegal probably, I presume, rides him. I might be wrong.
Sam
But
Ewing.
Sam is a great
Yeah.
record on him as well. So don't count him out. But I just worry about that last 50 or 100 yards with him in a plate.
Yeah. All right. So just confirm again, you're both going with Henry. You think both of you anyway, between you think Henry de Bromhead's going to win the plate?
Yeah, and I'll give Emmet a happy bit of vibe here. I know the two of them are going very, very well at home, and I know Dara was scratching his head, and I think it was the last second sort of decision he had to make because last week he was Gorgeous Tom, and this week he's down Mexico way, so there's very little between the two of them.
There you go. That's some good news. It's probably really sickening for a jockey as well. I mean, when you see a stablemate win, well, is it one of
horrible? You might go over and give it a pat and say, "Well done," but you're absolutely raging.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Right, let's move on to one of the absolute races of the week then at Galway, of course, on Thursday. It is the Guinness Galway Hurdle. And again, we've got a classy, not quite grade one horse at the top of the market here. A horse that has promised so much. El Cairos, right up at the top of the market. You got Mercia, Put Your Hands Together, starting 15. And Dowie, Game Ball, Laffy, Too Bossy for us, Solness in there as well. Cashel Dale Lad. Paddy, we'll start with you again. I mean, Kairos is a fascinating runner here for me. Gordon Ellie sort of on record this week is saying that, the horse hasn't quite delivered what we thought he has. He hasn't delivered what he's shown at home yet on the track. Do you think he could be in any way well in off a mark of 143 here?
I suppose in layman's terms, yes. He looks well in, for the opposition he's been running against all last year. I mean, he's been at the top table. He didn't get up to eat the dinner at the top table, but he wasn't far off it, If I suppose if you're looking at it, yes, he should be favourite. He's done plenty right, but for me, I'm not his biggest fan, to be honest with you. He's, the speed they say he has is electric at home and stuff like that. I wonder why he's never really went for a flat race. If he was that fast and that good, look at Constitution Hill there, what he's doing in the flat.
No,
The
we're not talking about him. No, Paddy, come on now. We're constitutional amnesty for another week or two.
Oh yeah, but I couldn't back him. I actually couldn't back the horse because I was against them all last year going to Cheltenham. I wasn't blown away by his prep runs. I know what he did in Leopardstown when he came down at the last, but that was his own doing, and when he got beaten the bumper in Punchestown before Gordon trained him, they were all blaming the jockey, but the horse just hung and lost the race himself. So he's quirky, I've no doubt he's a lot of ability, but he's quirky. If you asked me something I'd like to ride in it, I would like last year's winner, but he was second. He lost in Stuart's Room, Helvic Dream. Go back Noel Mead. Again, he's a cracking horse. He looks like he's been laid out for this race. They haven't been overfacing him. He's been tipping around, probably getting fit. And Noel's a great target trainer, and he's a bit of value in my book.
Yeah, I'm definitely thinking for an each way double, a Helvic Dream, Jesse Evans double, even each way double, even if they don't both win, they look like horses that'll definitely get in the premises. What about you in the hurdle, Emmet? What do you like?
Yeah, I think I want to take El Cairos on. I was very disappointed with him in Punchestown. Now, you could argue, and Gordonelli certainly is, that it's the end of a long season and he's had a chance to freshen him up. And look, he could well be the handicap lot, but as favoured, I think I'm prepared to take him on because I just haven't been convinced by him just yet. Could well end up with egg on my face. But the one I came down on was a horse called Laffy. Bit of an unlucky nearly season ending, I suppose, last spring when he was second in the Swinton Hurdle, and Haydock having been disqualified the time before that in Aintree, when unfortunately Paddy O'Brien went over with the whip, a couple of strikes over, and he was disqualified. So he's due a change of luck. He's only £2 higher than he was when he was kind of ran out of it late on in the Swinton. 7 runs over hurdles, so still a little unexposed, and rated 95 on the flat as well. So he has that bit of back class, and William Durkin is having a good time of things with his team as well. A couple of good chances in the qualified riders race tonight as well. So he'll be hoping for a good Galway, and I hope he's declared in the morning. He's one I like in that race. My dad runs one as well, and it's starting 15. Coming back off a little bit of a break. Had a pretty decent season last year as a novice, but just be a little bit worried about him first run back in a race as competitive as this. He can be a little bit fresh and keen, so hopefully he settles and does things right. If he does, he'd have a little squeak. But for betting purposes, Laffy was the one that I liked.
Yeah, starting 15s are in 8, 9 to 1 there. Just, Paddy, just on El Kairos, I don't want to dwell too much on him, but what do you think he needs to do here to go and show what a lot of people have said he's done, even his trainer said he could do? You know what I mean? Does he have to go and bolt up here like?
He's to go down to the last on the bridle and win by 5 or 6, that sort of way, to justify what was spoken about him last year. Like I remember when he won his maiden in Thurles, like Gordon after had said he barely slept, and I couldn't get my head around it, that it was a horse going for a maiden in Thurles going on his way to a Supreme, and Gordon was feeling that pressure. I mean, he must be some workhorse at home. He must be an absolute jet at home, but sometimes they just don't have it at the track. They find it very easy at home, but once that pressure comes on them, the gears aren't there. Like the Supreme, he got the best run around in the Supreme, in my opinion. Everybody said it was an on-speed race, but like I think my daddy Paddy came from behind him that day and put him in his place very easy. Yeah, if he's going to be the superstar that he was touted, he'll have to go down to the last on the bridle, and then listen, if he wins 2 or 3 lengths, grand, but he has to show that he's a class above. And there for Emmet, like I'd say the likes of Game Ball in the race there, he's bred to get a lot further. No weight in his back. I could see him going off good and quick. So like if your horse don't settle in the Galway Hurdle, you mightn't settle. So if they go that gallop, I'd say your old man horse has a little each way squeak too.
We'd be keeping the fingers crossed for a minute, that's for sure.
Just a quick word and put your hands together, because I know you guys have spoken about it, but there's so little of Joseph O'Brien cannot do. And to go and bring a Cesarewicz winner, an Irish Cesarewicz winner here, and turn up at 6, 7 to 1 in a Galway hurdle. Even though he doesn't have much sort of hurdle form of note, he's not without a chance, sure he's not. And again, Joseph at festivals, it's just he's phenomenal, isn't he, Paddy?
Yeah, if you can't go against them, really, can you? Whatever. If you said to me every race and you named the Joseph O'Brien horse, whether it's 10 to 1, 20 to 1, he's probably got 3 or 4 and everything. So listen, he's doing it on the flat. He's winning with first strings, second strings. He's he's gone to a different level this year. I mean, amazing trainer. Amazing the amount of horses the man has and different owners the man has. So like if he's 2 or 3 in, usually they're not all the same owners. So they're all there to win the race themselves. But another thing I'd mention is I thought it was quite a poor entry for the Galway Hurdle this year. For that prize money, lack of entry is a little bit worrying.
Yeah, there's quite a few. The one I thought, just on that as well, like Solness, you got class. He's a great winner over fences. I thought Castrodale Lad is another Gordon that could run a race as well. Just the way he runs too, gets out there in front. Maybe he whether he sets up the race for someone or whether he can get away in front. But obviously, he's been running against a lot better horses than these over the over the last few months or so. Of course, not just Galway this week, we have Goodwood as well. The Al Shakab Goodwood Cup goes to post on Tuesday at 3:35, and obviously Scandinavia looking to defend his crown as well. Emmet, I was kind of thinking off the top of my head, does Aidan have a brilliant record in this race? And then I was looking at the horses that have won it twice, and Yates did it twice, Cairos did it twice, now Scandinavia around about even money. So yeah, things are not all going to plan for Ballydoyle at the moment. I mean, relatively speaking, but what about Scandinavia in this?
Yeah, I suppose Aidan's strike rate isn't what we've kind of become accustomed to just at the minute. I suppose it's something
Mortal. It's down to the level of mere mortal at the moment. Yeah.
I suppose the only thing I would say on it, and I'm sure it's not by design, but at the same time, something we discussed earlier in the year when we were previewing the whole flat season, it's become such a long season now, that you'll see a lot of trainers just taking the foot off the gas a little bit during the middle part of the season, giving their horses a chance to freshen up, especially with Royal Ascot being as big as it is now. They can often just take that couple of weeks afterwards to just take back a little bit, take stock, maybe just ease off. Even that filly that won in Leopardstown the other evening for Aidan Alpha, the filly that won the Silver Flash, he just said that he was running her rather than working her, again knowing that it's a long season, the likes of the Moyglaire and Filly's Miles, and that'll be her target kind of further into the autumn. So I wouldn't be overly concerned. He's still having his winners, and he looks to be sending a strong team to Goodwood, and probably first up, and maybe the team captain for the week would look Scandinavia. He was really, really good. Battle for the ages in the Ascot Gold Cup when he just nosed Trawleman out of it. He's a pound worse off at the weights. He's a 4-year-old, which, still probably plenty upside to him. So you could see him continue to improve throughout the season. Trawleman's probably not going to be getting any better at his age, but having said that, he was coming into Royal Ascot off the back of a layoff. And I'd like to think we could be treated to another little bit of a thriller here with these. Rahib, you'd have to say, coming back in trip to 2 miles is definitely going to suit him. He was a blatant non-stayer in Royal Ascot over 2.5, and maybe he's even the likes of a Giavolotto that he could come back to 1.5 miles in time. So I think he'll get an awful lot closer to the front too this time. But whether he's good enough off the back of Ascot, having got such a hard race and not stayed to get past them, I would have a doubt. For me, it's between the top two. I don't know if Lazy Griff is good enough. And I think the rest of them could potentially be making up the numbers, or maybe that's doing them a disservice. Illinois, obviously, Queen Alexandra winner and French Master second as well. But for me, it's between the top two, and I think the prices are right. But I'm quite happy to watch them run rather than having a bet in it, I think.
What about you, Paddy? Scandinavia is the kind of horse that I feel like whether he ran for 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, or 6 miles, he'll still only win in nose, and he'll never lie down in a battle.
Yeah, typical good horse, Hardy Eustace was the same. He just everything he done at home was the same. He just win a nose and a piece of work and make you work for everything. I think Scandinavia is the upcoming horse. I think he's a great horse. I'd say he could be, I don't know if we'll ever see Yates again, but I think this guy will keep going back to Ascot. Trawler, man, it was some run the last day. I mean, it was unbelievable. Off a break, they kind of made the race or made Ascot. That was the best race in Ascot for me. Anytime I'm watching them, I'm always thinking, geez, I'd love to throw a few hurdles in front of them too and see what they do. That's just be my thinking.
They'd fall, but
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't draw them and it'd be good. Interesting that Illinois is in it because they had no pacemaker the last time in Ascot, and Ryan just probably Oisin Murphy rode a great race, and just Ryan thought that Trollerman might have got away a length or two on him a bit early. So I'd say Illinois will make sure that won't happen in this race. But another cracking race, yeah, 2 beautiful horses.
And you stick with Scandinavia?
Yeah, I'd go with Scandinavia. I can
Yeah.
see him going unbeaten for a couple of years, to be honest.
Beaten for a couple of years. Well, I suppose, look, you look at the previous double winners of this race, you're talking about Cairos, you're talking about Yates. They are the elite stayers that Aidan's had over the years.
Yeah, and like they're always just targeted at races that kind of suit them building up to the Ascot Gold Cup, and usually they're the best horses in it. And like Emmet said, they wouldn't be trained that hard at home. They'll turn up at the races, get a blow in, win, maybe just win by a length or two. And a bit like Limerick in the hurling, that they'll just be building for the final. And Kerry should have done the same, but they just missed.
Oh dear. Oh dear. And when you were down there, do you know many of the stairs? Did you ride many of them day to day or anything like that, like Yates and
I
that? Or
I wasn't there for Yates's time. I didn't ride Kyprios on a regular basis, but I certainly would have sat in him plenty at different stages. Just a completely laid back horse, wouldn't blow you away at home. Just like he did on at the race course. You know, he'd always give you a little bit of a heart attack in the Savilbeg in the vintage crop every year, kind of 1 to 6, but yet he'd still show up when the big game was on in Royal Ascot and do enough to win. And Scandinavia looks to be very much in the same mold, you'd have to say.
right, let's move on to another absolute cracker. And as is so often the case, at Goodwood on the Wednesday, we have the the Visit Qatar Sussex Stakes. Normally, it's kind of the generational challenge. A 3-year-old comes up and takes on the 4-year-old. But like this year, we've just been served this brilliant series of battles between Bo Echo and Ystad. You've got Opera Ballo coming in there as well. The 4-year-old to challenge. It's very difficult for 4-year-olds with that weight allowance. But Emmet, Bo Echo, just the race at Royal Ascot was absolutely brilliant. What do you think? Is there any way back for Stad? I suppose that the horse I think of here is when we had the battle with Henry the Navigator and Ravens Pass over the course of the whole season. But is there any way you can see Gestad turning things around with Bo Echo today or at any other stage later on the year over a mile?
Yeah, I don't know, to be perfectly honest with you. There was plenty of drama certainly in the race in Royal Ascot. In some ways, it was quite an unsatisfactory race because Bo Echo was made challenge as wide as he was into the straight. Instead, obviously got the run down towards the inner. They were kind of 5, 6, 7 horse widths apart. Neither necessarily got a fair crack of the whip. I don't think as such up the straight. Bo Echo is obviously life was made very difficult for him early when Billy put him into the position after going a couple of yards instead of just taking back. I'm sure if he could have his time again, he would have taken back. And I can see him doing the same here. But with 12 runners now, it's not going to be simple for him to do just that. His main opposition is drawn 3. Opera Ballo, I would see him as the main opposition more so even than Stad. For me, Billy, when he jumped out in the Queen Anne, he just jumped, put his hands down his withers, and probably let him roll a little bit quicker on a track where it's difficult to make all the running up that straight track in Ascot. So I think the turning nature of Goodwood could well suit him, and I think from an older horse's standpoint of view, I think he sets a really, really good standards for the 3-year-olds to match. It's not going to be an easy race for any rider to ride. 12 in it, 2 of them are declared for the Lennox as well, so they may well come out. Kirat and Lake Forest as well. Zavatiri's obviously interesting on his first run back. Beat Stad, of course, in the National Stakes last year. I think it's quite an open race, and I think it's going to be a fascinating race. I just hope once they get straightened up that everyone gets a little bit of a cleaner shot at it than they did necessarily at Ascot, and that they get a nicer run through the race. So we do get to see who the best miler is around, whether that's a 3-year-old or a 4-year-old.
Paddy, just as a jockey coach, your thoughts on how Billy Loughnane dealt with Bo Echo on at Ascot? Because I'm sure one of the first things he said, he wasn't happy with himself obviously today, and the horse got him out of trouble. I'm paraphrasing obviously, but the rider probably learned as much from that experience as anything else, didn't he? Because that was the biggest day, the biggest spotlight. He made a little mistake, got out of jail. How do you think he'll come on from that?
Oh, I think it was massive for Billy's career, and I'm not over exaggerating that because I think if he got beat, there'd be a hell of a lot of questions after the race. It would have been, well, Ryan Moore put him in his place, and Ballydoyle would done this and done that. When you look back at Mick Cannans and lads like that, Ballydoyle tried to see the Stars beat, and Mick was too good for them. Basically he was smart enough in the saddle. So if Billy had got beat, Jesus, I would have worried about his confidence and stuff like that. So lucky enough, the horse didn't get beat. And for me, if Gestad didn't beat him in Ascot, I don't think he'll ever beat him because Bo Echo shouldn't have won. Like from the start, from Buick's horse being where he was, William had no choice because his horse was keen. But like Ryan had a look over and said, right, I'm going to put you in that sandwich. You're going in there. I'm going left. Everything went wrong. William Bukestead out because his horse was keen, and every time Billy went to go by him and slot in, William just went on a stride. So for me, Bo Echo shouldn't have won. He was a hell of a horse to win it. Usually, you don't win them big, great Group 1 races unless you have a nice smooth run around. So I think he's maybe 2-3 lengths better than Stad. So I'll be expecting Billy now to kind of grow a big pair of kahunas now on Wednesday and say, listen, that's not going to happen again. I'll go back, I'll bite the bullet, and I'll come late. I'll be the last one going at them, because if he gets into that battle again, so that horse will remember the tough race he had in Ascot. That horse needs now a smooth run into the race, and I think the track will suit, and this is going to be
Yeah.
down to Billy Loughlin. It's going to make the man out of him, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you think Bo Echo will do it?
I do. I think Boeco and Gestad are probably just a cut above the rest, and I think it'll be another good battle. But I'd be really interested now. Hopefully, Billy will just not fall out the gates, but don't get involved in that battle. There's only so much Coolmore can do to get you beat, but if you come back behind them and let them play their cards and ride them like the best horse in the race, I think you can probably beat their tactics that way.
Do you think Bo Echo can win it, Emmet?
I
He
think if
will
he
win.
gets a clean, I think if he gets a clean run through, he's probably the best horse in the race. But I think Opera Ballo, given he's going to be riding forward in a field of 12, could get tactical advantage, and he's going to give him plenty of it now.
Right, so quick fire before we move on. Right, one word answers. Got a few quick questions. We'll think about this in the context of Galway and Goodwood. Right, Emmet, one horse people are getting wrong or sort of sleeping on for the week.
I think it's wrong to have El Cairos at the top of the market in the Galway Hurdle. I think he's vulnerable.
What about you, Paddy?
I took the words out of my mouth. I said Cairos is not as good as he's a hype horse, and hopefully I'm wrong, but I think he's a hype horse.
Right, let's move on to a horse you'd love to sit on. One at Galway and one at Goodwood. Emmet.
Well, I think if you're any kind of a rider, you want to ride the big horse in the big race with the big pressure. So Bo Echo for me in Goodwood. And I wouldn't mind a spin on down Mexico way in the Galway Plate. Again, the big race of the week. He's my selection in that, and I hope he runs well for Dara Keefe and Henry Bromett.
What about you, Paddy?
Scandinavia in Goodwood. I think he's by far, not by far the best horse, but I think he's going to be a generational talent for the next few years. And a horse called Midnight Jet on Thursday in a hurdle race in Galway. He's a beautiful black horse, big, powerful. Won a novice in Killarney a few months back, and coming back here, I think he's a good horse.
Good stuff. And one bold prediction for Galway and Goodwood, right? Bold prediction for Galway and Goodwood out of McNamara.
Bold prediction for Galway. Willie Mullins and Gordon Elliott are going to walk out of there on Thursday evening, and they won't have a plate or a hurdle between them.
Hey, I like that. What about you, Paddy?
I'll have Joseph O'Brien as leading trainer, JP McMahon as leading owner in Galway.
Yeah, very fair, very fair. Righto, right, let's move on to the closing stages here of the week. And right, our nap time this week. We're going to nap and a next best selection for us over the course of the week. Can be Galway, can be Goodwood. Emmet McNamara, we'll start with you.
Yeah, my each way double for, I suppose, reasons I outlined earlier on, are down Mexico way in the Galway Plate, and quite like Laffy as well in the Galway Hurdle on Ladies' Day. So hopefully a lucrative 48 hours for me.
Good stuff. Paddy, what about you?
Midnight Jet is my nap on Thursday in a novice hurdle, and just one I forgot to even mention in the hurdle. Sorry, we were going through everything. Is my each way horse is Rock Dino for Willie. He's got form around El Cairos, and he's much more well treated than El Cairos. He's no weight in his back. He's plenty of experience in big handicaps after being around Cheltenham. So yeah, he's one hopefully at a big price.
Good stuff. I'm keeping it simple. Nap of the week is Bo Echo in the Sussex, and one at an each way price in the hurdle. We'll go with Cashildale Lad for Gordon Elliott. Right, that's it from us. Massive thanks to Emmet, to Paddy. We're on X, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, so make sure you're following us there too. And for the very best prices, make sure you've downloaded the William Hill app. Please gamble responsibly, 18+, and we'll see you all next week.